I'll share something that I heard that was really a pretty epic description of life from, I think it was Naval. And Naval was talking about how, he said, for most people, life is, especially if you're an entrepreneur, it's like climbing a mountain, right? Climbing a mountain, and you set yourself up on the trail, and you start at the bottom, you see the peak, and then you start climbing. But if you've ever gone out and climbed a mountain before, you know that for most of the time you're climbing, you don't see the peak. In fact, you go into like fog and trees and all these different things, and you can't really see the peak. But at a certain point, right, you'll usually come around a corner or whatever and come out of the fog, and you'll be able to see from where you're standing up to the peak. And what he said was that often what happens is you climb and you climb and you climb, and you get to a spot where you can see the peak, and then you realize, I'm not going to be able to make it to the peak from the trail that I took, from the path that I took. And you have a choice. And the choice is to continue trudging in the same direction because you've already made this commitment, or it's to turn back around, go back down, and start up with a new trail, a new path to the top, with the new information that you gathered from the previous time that you were hiking. And that, to me, resonated extremely, extremely well with me. And what you're doing, creating space for people and help, this is what I think breath work does for me in any sort of like altered state can also produce something similar, where it's like, all right, it's an ability to have the vantage point from where you are to the summit, and then you get to make that decision if you're going to go back down or if you're going to continue to trudge.
Yes.
And that's a tough decision to make.
Yeah, no, and you hit the nail on the head about looking at the different paths to the top. And I'd like to even add something to that perspective with the mountaintop example, that a lot of times people put this mountaintop on a pedestal, and then once
Yes.
they get there, guess what? They have the feeling of, well, now what?
It's a false summit.
That happens over and over and over and over and over again. And guess what? A lot of people, they go try to climb a new mountain thinking that that's going to be the answer. And then they climb that mountain and they're like, well, now what? So
a bigger mountain.
Yeah, exactly. A bigger mountain.
It's got to be a bigger one. It's got to be a bigger one.
Just comes that having that mindset, it will never be enough, right? And I think finding the peace to, this is a skill that I repeat to the people I work with, and I try to cultivate myself, is being okay with just being. You know, as we're entrepreneurs, you know, we like to do things, we like to create things, and we're just kind of go, but like, it's a skill just to be, to actually be in the present, and just to really enjoy the moment of climbing. And I like to have it where life, there is no top of the mountain, but it is a climb. But can you cultivate the awareness that you're going to enjoy the climb or whatever you're working on? And it doesn't necessarily need to be a climb either. I'm actually going to pull something from Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights book. There's a chapter in there that called The Art of Running Downhill. And that kind of plays in a little bit to like being okay with just being. Like, all right, you've worked really hard, you climbed, and now like everything happening is great and you're going downhill, but you still want to go back to what you know how to do, is grind and do more and more. It's like, no. Just, can you just be and enjoy the downhill when the downhill is there? Because guess what? There will be a new mountain or a new hill that's going to come your way in life that you're going to have to climb again. So